Well, when it comes to Disney infighting with governments, it's not just Florida. It is also the state of California, and more specifically, many times the city of Anaheim, where Disneyland is. And there is now news coming out that Disney is agreeing to pay $233 million in a settlement in a wedge theft case, which is basically Disney was not paying the cast members out at Disneyland what they were supposed to be paying them during a certain period of time here, which again, when you talk about cast members, these are the people that literally make the theme parks work. And many times, Disney is in sort of union battles with the cast members on both Disney World and Disneyland in terms of pay and the cast members work, fighting for better wages because they are such a vital part of the parks. And it seems that Disney now is going to have to pay some back pay on that. But it seems out in Disneyland's case that they were basically breaking the law and not paying their cast members what they're supposed to be paying them. So we have an article here from the LA Times that is reporting on this. So we're going to read through this and give some thoughts on it here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. And the headline here is Disney agrees to $233 million settlement in wage theft case. 5 years after workers first took Disneyland to court over skirting an Anaheim minimum wage law, the Walt Disney Company has agreed to settle a class action lawsuit for a staggering $233 million. The company approved the preliminary settlement on Friday, which accounts for back pay with interest, as the Anaheim law is set to increase wages in January to nearly $20.50 an hour. What we believe is the largest wage and hour case settlement in California history will change lives for Disney families and their communities, said Randy Renick, an attorney representing the workers in the class action suit.
They claimed that the $300 million Mickey and Friends parking lot deal that had started in 1997 didn't qualify. They still get a tax benefit from that. Ultimately, the Court of Appeals and the California Supreme Court rejected Disney's argument.
The settlement includes more than 50,000 current and former Disney employees. Back pay owed to workers from January 1st, 2019, when the wage law first took effect, until the date Disney adjusted wages at the end of the court fight last year, accounts for roughly $105 million of the total settlement. Ooh. That's a lot of money. Melissa Partida, 58, has worked in room service at Disney's Grand Californian Hotel in Anaheim since it opened in 2001, and as a tipped worker is currently earning $19.90 an hour under the city's wage law. Nearing retirement age, she expressed gratitude for the coalition of Disney unions that campaigned for the wage law as a ballot initiative in 2018 and the attorneys who litigated the subsequent court case. It's a big win and we're happy, said Partida, a Garden Grove resident. The cost of living here is very expensive and I don't know how much back pay I'm going to get, but whatever it is, I didn't have it before. The company has been stiffing thousands of workers for several years, said Peter Dreyer, a professor of public policy at Occidental College and co-author of Working for the Mouse, a survey of Disneyland resort employees. They've denied them back pay they're owed while paying CEO Bob Iger over $31 million a year. It's only fair that workers get what's coming to them, and if the world was fair, Iger would take some of it out of his paycheck, he added. As part of the tabulation, Disney agreed to substantial penalties, interest, and other associated fees on top of the back pay owed. They said, "We are pleased that this matter is nearing resolution," said Susie Brown, a Disneyland spokeswoman. Currently, all cast members make at least the Measure L requirement of $19.90 per hour, and in fact, 95% of them make more. The company reached an agreement last summer with 4 unions representing 14,000 workers that raised base pay to $24 an hour. Yeah, we talked about this last year that last summer that they were protesting outside of Disneyland. Obviously, many times at Disney World, there are union battles for pay as well. So this is definitely something Disney has, always had to deal with on some level, which is probably another reason, talk about last week where Disney had, we had the story about Disney having the AI-based checkout counters at the All-Star Sports Resort. So I definitely think they're going to start using AI and more automation where they can in the parks, because their biggest, costs they have when running theme parks is, it's paying their employees. And obviously Disney is trying to scrape up as much cash as they can constantly in the parks while their attendance kind of continues to drop. They're charging more for things, and one of the things they can do to show more money is also not pay people as much. So, obviously, now Disney's not the only company that's ever done this, I'm sure. Now, they're a huge employer, especially out in California here, so this is going to get headlines in terms of how big this, this amount is. So that's one reason why I won't be surprised to see more AI creeping up into the theme parks, because they're trying to basically reduce costs while increasing revenues everywhere that they can. And I think that's probably only going to continue. The dispute between Disney and its workers dates back to February 2018, when the Coalition of Resort Labor Unions released the Working for the Mouse survey. Co-authored by Dreyer and Daniel Fleming, the study detailed economic hardships faced by Disney workers at the time, including the finding that almost 3/4 of those surveyed said they didn't earn enough money to cover basic expenses. The report's release arrived in tandem with a, quote, living wage ballot initiative campaign championed by the Union Coalition. Anaheim voters approved Measure L, as the wage law is known, last year. Starting on January 1st, 2019, it ordered a minimum wage of $15 an hour for companies in the Anaheim resort that enjoyed tax rebate agreements with the city. Disney did not adjust wages in accordance with the law while negotiating pay raises with individual theme park unions and union councils. In response, Disney workers filed a class action lawsuit in 2019 that represented 25,000 employees and alleged that the company illegally invaded the wage law. Disney's attorneys argued in court it did not have a tax rebate agreement with Anaheim and wasn't subject to the terms of the law. The company's insistence, the Anaheim City Council tore up a 45-year gate tax and a $267 million bed tax agreement for a planned luxury hotel at downtown Disney before the election. It says Judge Classer initially agreed with Disney in 2021, but the 4th District Court of Appeal reversed the ruling because a tax rebate agreement was embedded within the 1996 Disney expansion deal passed by Anaheim City Council. Disney appealed the decision, but the California Supreme Court declined to hear the case, which effectively ended its legal fight against the wage law. It's a win for the workers that stuck it out at the resort, and it's a win for the workers that left because they couldn't stand it anymore but are now getting back pay, which, if you've been keeping up with Disney and their current legal battles, has not been going very well for them. A few weeks ago, we have here on WWNT that Disney agreed to pay $43 million to settle a gender pay gap lawsuit. And then you, of course, had the lawsuit where the widow of a guest at Disney World who passed away from eating a meal at Raglan Road, which is at Disney Springs, that she was allergic to peanuts. They told her it didn't have peanuts. It did, and she died. Her widow went to sue, and Disney at first tried to say that he couldn't sue because they had signed up for a Disney Plus free trial, and then that basically said you couldn't sue Disney. They then dropped that, and that lawsuit is proceeding, which likely Disney's going to end up paying out, which is weird because that lawsuit was only like $50,000. It really wasn't a ton of money that they were looking to get on that lawsuit, but who knows where that one's going to go. And then you also have the Gina Carano lawsuit against Lucasfilm and Disney, which is proceeding because Disney tried to get it thrown out and that did not happen. So that looks like it is going to go to trial, as Disney probably wants that one to be settled outside of court, because with Discovery, who knows what they find in there in terms of what was the intercommunications involving that thing. So a lot of the court cases not going Disney's way, which many times is the case. I mean, here, this is a settlement. A lot of times this stuff won't go to trial because, you know, large corporations, is probably especially Disney, don't typically win in court, especially against, you know, cast members and just employees who are saying they were stiffed on their money. They weren't getting paid what they're supposed to be paying. It's a hard, probably Disney, even though if they do think they didn't have to do that, if they think that this law wasn't right, whatever the case is, you know, they probably knew they would have to settle this and probably pay less now versus trying to go to trial, lose that, and then end up paying a lot more money. So that's probably one reason why this was settled. So Disney can also sort of just say, well, you know, we just settled this. We didn't want it to go to trial. A lot of it is because it ends up saving them money in the long run doing that. And I think I saw where most of them will get somewhere around $3,500. At least some of them will around this time period. So, I mean, you know, that is a significant amount of money for a lot of people that, you know, especially out in California, there's been lots of stories about cast members, you know, living out of their cars, not being able to afford even groceries and things like that. And really, like, obviously Disney is not the only corporation that has had issues with this, as many corporations will try and skirt laws and not pay as much in wages. And you can see here by the $233 million here, which does include some interest on this, but this is one reason why Disney wasn't wanting to pay that, because it's going to cost them millions of dollars in increased wages here. But it's also a bad look for Disney considering what they've been doing, which is constantly raising prices, taking away perks, you'll see reports, and listen, he's not the only CEO, but Bob Iger making millions and selling stock and buying teams. And the only reason Disney can charge the prices that they charge and still people pay that, obviously not as many people have been coming to the parks over the years, but they are paying that still about guests coming to the parks, is because cast members are working there and they're providing the service that Disney is increasingly, raising the cost of, and not necessarily, it's not, being passed down to the cast members in terms of, we're going to increase price here, and so we're going to pay more cast members here. I think if that was the messaging from Disney, it probably would actually go over better with people if they were saying, hey, we're going to raise prices of, by whatever per day, but this money is to actually pay more to cast members. Now, whether or not that would be true, if that was the messaging they were putting out, that is something I think a lot of people, now it doesn't mean people would be happy, but I think a lot of people would be like, well, okay, if they're making more money, then that's one thing. And I think too, a lot of people don't ask questions like Disney continuing raising prices and then going, well, where's the money going? Well, it's obviously not going to cast members. It's probably going into AI in a lot of places. And if you look, like we talked about again, the whole AI-based checkout system that they test running currently over at All Star Sports, I think they're probably, this case being one example and many others, the labor battles that they have with the unions in terms of, the pay they want. If they can reduce the amount of money they have to pay to cast members, they'll do it. Obviously, this case shows that. And if they can use AI to replace jobs, they'll do that to save money, as will many other corporations. But I also think when Disney has marketed itself and been known as this family-friendly brand, and it's a magical vacation destination, and all the things that Disney has portrayed themselves as over the years, it also is really unsettling to people when they learn that like cast members who have families and are providing the service in which Disney is touted as this, magical place to visit, are not being paid what they're supposed to be paid. Now, you can have beefs, and if you don't like the way that the law is set up in Anaheim, which, okay, that's fine. And there's different places that will do that. I'm sure they have just as much, if not more, beef with Florida. It seems like Disney has problems with governments wherever they're at, and most businesses will on some level, but at the same time, just disregarding the law because you either don't think it applies to you, or you're just going to basically test your might and be like, well, what are you going to do about it? And it seems like that if it wasn't, now what's interesting about this wasn't the state suing Disney or the city suing Disney. This was a class action lawsuit by employees. And that's kind of, to me, the interesting part here, because if this was known, I guess I would assume the city would get involved, but maybe they did get involved. I don't know the exact logistics of this, but these cast members out in Disneyland spoke up about this, and now they're getting paid on this. And I don't know if anybody remembers, but this labor issue also at Disneyland last year almost led to, they were going to strike. And so that's the reason that Disney settled and decided to pay more and all the things like that. So the cast members have a lot of leverage. Now, it's just one of those things that they are, you're not dealing with very wealthy people here. So in terms of like, if they strike, how long would they last? And would Disney take the PR hit to basically, hold out as long as they would hold out, because they just know the people they're negotiating against don't have enough money to basically survive if that's the case. So a lot of the reasons that Disney ends up, giving into the labor disputes is because of the public image side of things. And so while Disney wants to lean into that to make money and sell you on vacations, they also want to lean away from that necessarily when it comes to labor disputes, because they're looking at hard business, numbers, and they're trying to save as much money as they can. Now, again, I think Disney's situation is the way in which that they're just running the parks right now, a lot of people are dissatisfied with. I've been saying for a while, a lot of this stuff is very short-sighted in terms of, the long game here of charging so much more for things that not even that long ago you weren't charging for. But one of the things I also think is short-sighted is, obviously, I don't know anybody that works in Disneyland. We're down in Florida here, but you'll hear a lot of cast members do talk about the, it's not sometimes the best environment to work in, and there's a lot of stress, and the pay is not where a lot of people feel it needs to be, and there's labor disputes that go on there. So I think a lot of the things, if Disney wants to continue to go this route of charging so much more, you would assume on some level they would pass and make public statements and say, hey, we're raising ticket prices by X amount again this year, but X amount of that is going to go to this, cast members, park upgrades. Like, I think if Disney were to actually just be forthcoming about where this, why they're increasing money or cost of things, not just because they can or they feel like they need to, But where this is going, they probably wouldn't take as bad of a PR hit. But the fact that they don't do that tells you, I mean, it's basically known. They want to save as much money as they can on labor so that the C-suite, Bob Iger, and the higher up executives can make more money. Again, not the only company that does this. I'm not trying to claim that they are, but not other companies are also selling, you know, the family-friendly Disney vision that Disney is. And I think many times this is what gets them more of the focus on this. It's just because it seems very disingenuous to be selling the, you know, these vacations of families, and it's once in a lifetime, and it's a magical place. And it's not necessarily a magical place for the people that work there, especially when we're talking about Disneyland in this case. So I doubt this is the last time we will see a issue like this with Disney, as there's another, you know, there's filing lawsuits, I know, down in Florida about property taxes. So Disney, again, they're very litigious. They are a large company. This is going to happen, but recently in court has not been going well. So I'm sure that after this case, there probably will be even more price increases at Disneyland to cover the cost of this, to try and make up for paying $233 million out of this. So I think at the end of the day, people would like the parks to be run in a much better way, not be so greedy, pay their cast members wages in which that they can survive. And I think that, you know, obviously that becomes into how much is that? That's not a topic I'm going to get into here, but, you know, paying, you know, having your employees and cast members be happy in their jobs is going to help them to provide a better customer service to the guests that are paying a lot of money to come to these parks. I think that would be better for Disney all in all, but as of now, they are going to be paying $233 million in California's largest wage theft case here. But either way, that's going to be it though for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here, typically of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about Disney paying $233 million in a settlement with cast members? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.